Welcome to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Decker team. And I'm Ken Decker, and today I've got a special guest, Dany Jacob. And Dany, you've done some work for the Decker team over the years and our clients and ourselves too, personally, and at our offices. And so you own a company called Bulldog. And talk to us about, well, first of all, what does Bulldog do? What does your company do? And how'd you come up with a name like that?
Well, company is family-based company. It's me and my wife. My wife is the one who runs the books. Usually I get customers asking me, Bulldog, what does it stand for? Where did you get this marketing idea? And pretty much the story goes is I used to have a pet bulldog.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, I always liked bulldogs, and I wanted to start a company that was catchy. I wanted a name that somebody would see me and say, you know what? Oh, what's that guy's company name? Bulldog. So it's one of those names that it catches somebody's eye and the attention. Mm-hmm. But there's more to the story than that. When I started my company that year, both my parents passed away 3 months apart. So in memory of them, what I did was at the bottom logo, there's on the belt buckle of the symbol of my truck, there's the initials of them. So it's JF for Jose and Fernanda. So it's a memory of my parents, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, for sure. So how long ago was that?
This is almost, I think it's on my 9th season.
Okay, so 9 years you've been in business.
Yes.
And Bulldog does driveway sealing, repairs, and that kind of thing, right? What do you do?
Majority of my company is based around asphalt, sealing, repairs, interlock, and doing full rip and repaves, which means when the driveway cannot be repaired anymore, what we have to do is we have to go in there with the machinery and rip everything out and repave it pretty much.
Okay, so you do everything driveways?
Pretty much.
Basically.
Like I said, my company's pretty much based around its family, its friends, its connections, you know what I mean? So when it comes down to the full laneways, a cousin of mine who has a bigger company than mine, we're associated together. So the way it works is he gives me the smaller jobs, I give him the big ones, but like I'm there at the job site, you know, working there with doing the full job.
Oh, okay. All right. So what got you started in asphalt?
Well, originally I started in the cement business. I'm a highly skilled cement finisher. I used to work for a bigger concrete company here in Ottawa as a highly skilled cement finisher. That's what they called it through the trades. And
so like polished floors and that kind of thing?
No. It was concrete pipe, sewer pipes that go underneath the ground. If they had defectives, I would have to repair them, check them to see if they were leaking and stuff like that, and repair them. Yeah. And I did that for 10 years until things didn't work out too good because I got injured. That's a different story. And that same year, my parents passed away. I lost my job, and I came up with this idea of, you know, starting up my own company. What happened was I ended up working for this company for a season, this asphalt company, a local company here in Greeley. And they pretty much taught me the trade. And my employer at the time mentioned to me, he goes, oh, you know, I'm always getting phone calls from customers about little repairs. I have no time for this, you know. And I said, you know, something popped into my head, and I was like, wow, great opportunity for me to, you know, branch out. And I mentioned to him, I said, well, listen, if you don't mind giving me these jobs that, you know, you don't want, or you're bragging that you don't want, I'd love to start up my own company and work from there.
Right.
So that's how I pretty much started, with the hunch that he was going to give me jobs on the side and I was going to branch out, which ended up not working out like that.
Oh, it didn't.
It probably was 1 or 2 jobs, and that's the story. I ended up advertising, and my name started going around, and that's how it is. It's been going on 9 years, and it's only blossoming.
Yeah, no, I think you've done 4 or 5 jobs for me personally.
Yes.
I think you've done my little office in Manotick.
Yes.
And you did my big office in Ottawa.
Yes,
It
yes.
had some serious repairs.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, it had some big holes in the pavement and some big cracks.
Yes.
And then you sealed it up nice. And for me, I've always said, you know, when someone comes to an office environment or a business, that when I went to California or Florida or somewhere like that, you go into a business and their parking lot is sealed nicely.
Yes.
And it's got, you know, nice lines drawn on it and everything. And then you come up here, and I know the winter's tough on our asphalt, and you know, it's tough on the lines, it's tough on everything.
Yes.
But most businesses don't seal their parking lots.
Yes, and you definitely do see that a lot. The winter definitely takes a toll on the parking lots, especially commercial parking lots. You can't compare a commercial parking lot to a residential driveway, or vice versa.
Right.
You got a lot more traffic, more cars going in there. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that whenever you have a commercial parking lot, what happens is the company that you have doing the snow, if they're using grit versus salt, come springtime, you got a mess in there.
I got that on mine.
So easy, you're gonna have to hire me this year. So you get all this dirt, and what happens? You're tracking in everything. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things you definitely have to focus on. You know, come wintertime, are you putting grit? Are you putting salt? Some people say, well, salt does, destroy the asphalt. It does, but like I said, when it comes down to commercial parking lots and you have a business in there and you have people coming in and going, you want to make it look presentable. And like I said, majority of my jobs are commercial, where we go in there, we do a major cleanup, power sweep, which consists of us going in there with these blowers, and they're rated at 150 to 200 miles an hour.
They'll move a bit of dirt.
Yes, these are very powerful. So if you got a wig, it'll blow your wig right off.
I'll keep that in mind.
You don't have to worry about that. But it's very powerful machines, and we sweep up everything, get rid of all the dirt and stuff like that, and then we start sealing up the laneways or the parking lots itself. If there are big cracks, we have to rubberize, crack fill them. And then from there...
is that a heated rubber?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is. We usually offer that for the commercial parking lots. When it comes down to residential parking homes or driveways, some people are like, oh, I want to get the hot stuff, rubber. We can offer that, but it is outrageously expensive. It sometimes takes 45 minutes for the machine to warm up. And like I said, usually... just the regular crack filler is enough for the house, unless the customer really wants it, but it is very expensive.
Okay. So you do residential and you do commercial.
Yes.
And you do, so the majority of people listening, some may own businesses, but probably you as a homeowner, almost everybody owns a home, unless they're renting. So you do the sealing, and I know you do the patching and ramps.
Yes.
Because a lot of times the asphalt will sink near the garage because they can't compact the aggregate the same way there, right at the edge of the...
Well,
so it sinks there?
Yes, a mixture of that. What happens is, unfortunately, workmanship is not like what it used to. Like an older home, you cannot compare it to the new homes.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Now, a lot of these newer houses, they're being built quite quickly. They're not being compacted properly. Some of these older homes, you'd wait 2 or 3 years before you put asphalt. Now they're rolling it in right away. So compaction is not there. The thickness of the quality sometimes is not there. Right. These are all factors. Now, if you go to majority of these newer developments like Barhaven, Morgan's Grant, Chapman Mills, you'll notice that almost every house where the asphalt meets the garage ramp, where the concrete slab is, you'll notice that there's a big sinkage there.
Yeah.
Sometimes an inch, 2 inches, 3
inches. Yeah. Makes it hard to get your car in. You got.
I've seen people put bricks for their cars to try and enter inside. Planks of wood. I've seen numerous of things, and what happens is gradually every year it starts sinking to a point where most of the time some people are trying to sell their house. Home inspectors now are sort of red flagging that due to the reason that crack in between where the asphalt meets the concrete, where the asphalt meets the concrete, there's a gap that starts opening up there. Water starts penetrating in there, and then what usually happens down the road is the slab inside the garage starts heaving or cracking, and which causes foundation problems.
Right, because you're getting moisture in through
Of course,
there.
yes.
And so the solution for that?
Solution for that is there's a couple of options. One of the options would be for us to go inside there, look at it, and if the customer wants us to put asphalt, we can rip out what's existing there. It all varies too on how the asphalt has sunk, whether it's cracking or breaking. It all depends. If I show up to a job site and I notice that the asphalt is looks like a puzzle, that's what we call it in this trade. It looks like a puzzle. It's all in chunks. Usually what we have to do is we have to rip it out, cut it out, and remove it, and then add in some stone, and then the asphalt, and then the secret of it all is the glue. It's the bonding agent. And that's what a lot of companies skip out on, is that bonding agent, because that bonding agent is like a glue where we have to apply it so the asphalt sticks on top of asphalt. If you don't put that bonding agent, when you're shoveling in the wintertime, that's all going to flake off.
I see.
And so we have that option, and then we have, it's a bit more expensive, but it lasts a bit longer, it would be putting the interlock.
Right, so you actually cut out, whether it be straight or design, whatever, put some stone compact, and then lay interlock. And if it ever shifts again,
you can just lift it up.
You can reset your interlock.
But what a lot of people don't realize is that when these houses are built, they'll notice either a house will have an eaves drop either on the left or the right hand side, okay? And what usually happens is half of these houses, when they're built, they're missing that eaves drop. I don't know if you have ever noticed when a customer is selling a house, you'll go there and there's usually like a foot or two of eaves drop that the contractor has left there so the water drains out onto the grass or onto the driveway. Well, most of the time, come winter time, people usually, if you have a company cleaning your snow, usually the company maybe will rip it out by accident. People sometimes bang into it with their lawnmower. And what happens is you just have that little section missing. So what happens is when it rains, that water is sticking around that garage. So that's what usually causes everything to sink in front of the garage. Yeah. So a $10 or $11 plastic flexible downspout saves you a lot of money down the road.
Okay, cool. And so how long would sealing, do you do it yearly, bi-yearly, like every 2 years? What's recommended?
I usually recommend, customers will come up to me and they're like, what do you recommend? And I usually tell them, I go, the product itself, it's an oil-based product, okay? Right now there's two products on the market. There's a water-based one and there's an oil-based one. The oil-based one is the one I use. It's a commercial grade. It's nothing that you can buy at the stores or anything like that. You need a special permit to buy from the manufacturer, which I'm licensed to do. And this product here lasts for 2 years. Now, some customers come up to me and they're like, well, you know, I went to such and such store and they have this material that lasts 10 years, which is not true. You know, there's no product that's going to last 10 years. You know, nothing lasts, especially with the Canadian weather here. So, you know, it lasts 2 years. Now, I do get customers that are in the military that love the shine and they want it done every year. But majority, it's every 2 years, you know. So just like anything in life, it's an expense. But it's an expense that that I think will improve the look of the house and also add years onto the driveway.
Yeah, I think I've referred you to a number of sellers, because what you do is you don't just go in and roll on some some sealant. you're going to actually clean the sides. You torch the weeds out or cut them out. Clean up the laneway so it's nice and clean. It gives you a nice first impression when you have a house for sale. It's phenomenal.
Of course.
You're going to seal any cracks, then seal it. And then you also, for an extra charge, of course, if they need a little ramp built because their driveway's sunk a little bit at the garage, then that's the time to do it. And it looks great. And now that avoids the problem with the home inspector and with the buyers going, oh, it's hard to get in the garage or whatever. So that's been great. Now, so I believe you get more value for your house, and it's easier to sell when it's got a great first impression. So that's really good. How does it extend the life of the asphalt by sealing and by fixing cracks?
The way I can explain it is pretty much it comes down. You might have some people that, they say it's a gimmick. Mm-hmm. And then there's some people that swear by it. And the way I look at it, or I explain to customers when I meet them and they're like, I'm not too keen on it and this and that. It's like a vehicle. You want to keep your vehicle. Some people, like to get rid of their cars after 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. Some people like to keep them 10 years. Well, majority of the people that want to keep their cars for a while, they rust proof it, right? Mm-hmm. Rust proof prevents it from rusting, corroding, from just rusting away with these salts. So pretty much what the sealer does is pretty much the same thing of rust proofing a vehicle. It's giving you that extra protection. It's adding another layer. It's like a sunscreen. When you look at a home, what takes the biggest beating of a home? It's the roof and the driveway. Those are the two main things that take a beating. Sun, snow, water, you name it.
And heat.
Heat, yeah, I can't forget the heat.
Yeah.
So, like I said, for me, I think it's adding extra life, to the driveway if it's done properly.
Yeah, because if you get a crack, which is normal because ground freezes around here and you get some shifting, right? Yes. And if you get a crack and then now water's going down that crack, that's the beginning of the undermining of your driveway, right?
Pretty much. Like a scar or a scratch on your hand or wherever, you know what I mean? If you don't treat it, it gets infected.
Yep.
So pretty much that's the way I look at it.
So you talked about you can go and buy these things in the drum at the hardware store or whatever and get a roller. And what's the big difference between do-it-yourselfer and having a professional do it?
My dad used to do it. My dad was European Portuguese. He didn't like to pay nobody, so he used to want to roll up everything. He wanted to do everything by himself. And I remember being a little kid and my dad telling me, "You can't play on the driveway for 2 weeks." You know what I mean? Because at the time, you had to roll it on, and it took forever to dry. And I remember my dad rolling it on, and you still see that happening. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, what happens is I had one customer, local person in Greeley. He had a humongous driveway, and he saw me doing the neighbor. He comes and sees me, and he says, "Well, how much would it cost to do my laneway?" And I gave him a quote. I measured up the laneway. I gave him a quote. And he goes, "When can you do it?" I go, "Well, I can probably do it tomorrow, And he goes, "Well, I'm bringing everything back to whatever store he bought it from." I don't want to mention any names, any plugs. But he said, "I'm bringing it back because the price you gave me is just the price of the material that I bought, not including the time that it's going to take me, because that stuff there, it's, if you have a big driveway in Greeley or Manotick, you might
you spend a half a day or a day there.
Half a day. You might be spending a couple of weekends there rolling that stuff on, and it makes no sense unless you're the kind of person that really wants to do it yourself. But unfortunately,
I find you get lap lines. Have you noticed that? And do-it-yourselfers. I did it. When I did it myself, I got lap lines. And
the funniest thing I get is when I get customers calling me and they're like, "Are you using the airport grade stuff?" And I'm like, "Airport grade?" "Yeah, airport grade. I went to the local hardware store and they sell the airport grade stuff." I go, "There's no such thing." "Oh yes, there's a picture of the plane on the tarmac." And I go, "First of all, you cannot put sealer on a tarmac because the plane would
Fly.
just fly off. So it's little marketing ploys that, companies put up. You know what I mean? I should have maybe, instead of putting Bulldog, I should have put maybe airport sealing company, and maybe I'll get more calls. But the stuff doesn't last at all. Some of the stuff, and it's very expensive. There's some stuff now that you buy at the hardware store. They're charging $70 for a pail of that stuff, and it's a whole bunch of names called Rejuvenizer, this or that. And like I said, my product, I guarantee that it will last 2 years, depending on the traffic flow and things like that.
Okay, and so you have a warranty, 2-year warranty on it?
Usually it's a 2-year warranty. Some of my customers would like lifetime warranty, but I'd be out of business if it was lifetime warranty. But it's usually 2 years. You might get a customer that will call you and I didn't look, it didn't last, and I'll show up there and it's like, it was 3 years ago. Oh, I thought it was last year, But
yeah, that's common. I have people when they're showing me through the house, and this is a new furnace, and I look at the tag, and it was put in 10 years ago.
Time flies, right? I know,
really
time
does.
flies.
It does. Yeah. So, you've repaired a bunch of my stuff. You have painting service as well. So, if you want lines on their parking lot, you do that.
Yeah.
Which really looks great.
Oh, yes.
To have clean lines after you seal a parking lot.
Definitely.
And put the lines in.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
awesome. And so how are they going to reach you if they want to get an estimate on, sealing up a laneway or fixing something? Or maybe I've seen asphalt where, you get a rut where the car parks or where the car drives. It's all sunk in where the wheels go. Is that poor compacting, poor asphalt? What's causing that kind of thing?
I'll sometimes see that. Most of the time I'll get somebody who just bought a house. They'll call me in to do an estimate, and I'll show up there and I'll look at the laneway, and you get that sagging kind of thing. And I'll tell them, I said, was it older people that owned this house? And they're like, yeah, it was. Most older people don't drive too much. And what happens is a lot of the times the car sits at the same place over and over the years and the days, and what happens is you get that sagging.
So you get a little indent, and then that's where they stop the car every time.
Yes,
because that's a perfect spot for it to rest.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've seen some too where there's like a gully though, where they drive the car. It's sunk. There's 2 gullies all the way up the laneway.
That's usually what happens is what's underneath the driveway itself. It can be clay. Usually when I see a driveway like that, it's all humpy. It's usually a telltale sign that what's underneath the asphalt it's contaminated. Not meaning that it's got oil or anything like that, but it's just, in our business we call it contaminated, meaning that the GA or the stone that's underneath there, it's not very good quality, and that's when you have to.
So replacing just the top wouldn't work there because you'll have the same problem.
Yeah, no. Usually when we see it, the customer is the boss. Okay, he's the one who chooses what he wants to do. That's it. Now, I can only give him a referral of what I think, and then it's up to him to decide, or her, what she or he wants to do. But usually with my experience, I'll look at a laneway and I'll say, if you want to repair it, you can, but I don't see it lasting long, and it varies. And that's why when I go do an estimate, or when I do my jobs, I want to create a relationship with the homeowner, with me. It's like you going to your barber, or you finding a good mechanic. You want to create a relationship.
Right.
And that's what I want to do with my customers. I want to create a relationship where hopefully they'll call me back every 2 years, or they'll refer me to family or friends like, you guys do. And that's what my main focus is. So if I look at a laneway and I say, I'll sometimes get a customer, he'll get me over to look at the laneway. It's finished, and they're like, oh, I want to seal it, and I'm like, save your money, sir, or save your money, because you can't really do anything. I'd like to take your money, but the driveway's to a point where it's finished.
It's puzzled. It's puzzled. You said like, when it starts to
It's
break
called
up
the
in chunks.
It's called the jigsaw puzzle. But
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you have to be honest with the person. You know what I mean? I'm a consumer too. I'm a homeowner too. You know, I don't specialize in roofing or windows, so.
Yep.
You know, when I hire somebody, I want somebody to give me their honest opinion on, you know, what they think. And that's what my plans are with my business.
So you may not have an answer for this, but I'm going to throw it out there. You live in the country.
Yes.
I used to live in the country, and a lot of my neighbors, they're culvert. Because they're in the country, like we don't have culverts in the city typically.
Speed bump, you mean?
But yeah, the culvert in the winter has shifted. Something's shifted. And now it's climbed up, humped all.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. What causes that, and what's the best fix for that?
Well, usually what we usually recommend is if we get a new house, like let's just say somewhere in the country in Manotick or Greeley, I'll price out a laneway where, you know, they had the house built or whatever. The house was built 5 years ago, let's just say. I'll go inside and measure up the laneway and tell them, you know, this is the price now. If somebody has not lived in the country, they don't know what that is. Okay? We call it the speed bump. What happens is I usually tell a customer, I go, well, we can do the full laneway for you, but just keep in mind, chances are within a year or two, the asphalt's going to crack there. Then the water's going to get in there, moisture, and it's going to lift. So usually we tell them, you have the option of 1, doing it now, or 2, waiting until it gets bad to the point, it could be 3 years, 4 years, you know, and cutting it out and placing some interlock there. Usually some houses, it's called a horseshoe, where you have 3-4 feet of interlock in front of the garage, which prevents the sinking. And then you have your walkway joining the driveway. And then you have sometimes 2 or 3 rows of interlock going on the side. And then you have 3 to 4 feet of interlock going in front of there.
Where the culvert is.
Where the culvert is.
And you can make that straight, or you can make it into a fancy shape, whatever. You cut the asphalt, put that in.
It's up to your imaginary your brain.
Okay. And so you do that work as well.
Yes.
You do the interlock work as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interlock is a bit more obvious. It's a bit more expensive than asphalt, but it lasts longer. Like I said, usually interlock, you'll get 10, 12 years before you start seeing sinking. The advantage about an interlock is you're able to keep the product. That's what a lot of people don't realize. You get to keep the product. So if there's ever sinking and stuff like that, you just remove the interlock, repack everything, and set it back again.
Yeah, which is great. So Dany, how would they reach you if they want to get you in? What number?
The best way to reach me, I'm old school, would be, I'm a people person, so it would be through my phone, my cell phone, which I never leave home without it. It's like MasterCard.
Okay.
So 613-853-4474, or my website. It's called, get a pen and paper and lots of paper. It's called Bulldog Sealing .repair.asphalt.com.
Wow.
Yes, it's a long one. But the easiest way to find me is you just go into the old-fashioned Google and you just type in Bulldog Asphalt or Bulldog Sealing, Ottawa.
Okay.
You will find me. There's my website there, and then there's the links in there to try and reach me.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us on the Inside Track on Real Estate. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.